When the membranes rupture at term and there are no contractions yet, the first thing everyone wants to know is when the baby will come. Left to nature, labor usually starts within a day. Nearly 2 in 3 women are contracting by 24 hours. Birth itself is slower. Half have delivered by around 33 hours, and a few take 3 or 4 days. There are already 2 clocks inside that one answer, one for labor starting and one for the baby arriving, and keeping them apart is the whole discipline of managing term rupture of membranes. Hold on to that gap for a moment, because it is easy to let the two collapse into a single reassuring number. Nearly 2 in 3 women in labor by a day is a fact about contractions beginning. Half delivered by about 33 hours is a fact about babies being born. The first tells you how many of these women will get going on their own. The second tells you how long the whole process actually takes. Quote a woman the 33-hour delivery figure when what she is really asking is whether she will go into labor tonight, and you have answered a different question than the one she asked. That is why the 2 clocks have to stay apart. Now, a third clock, and it tracks something narrower than either of the first 2. The risk that Group B streptococcus, a bacterium some women carry, reaches the baby during birth and causes early Group B strep disease in the newborn. This risk climbs quietly the longer the membranes stay open, and it is a risk that comes due at a single moment, delivery, when the baby passes through. When we already know a mother carries the organism, she gets antibiotics in labor no matter the hour. It is the woman whose status we do not know that this clock is really for. Once she is in labor or being induced, membranes that have been open beyond 18 hours are risk enough that we treat her as though she is positive and give her antibiotics. So this clock measures one specific danger, Group B strep reaching the baby. And 18 hours is not a landmark the danger arrives at, but the point where we decide to act on it. The fourth clock is broader, and it never ticks in steps. The moment the membranes rupture, the barrier that sealed the womb from the vagina is gone, and ordinary vaginal bacteria begin working their way upward toward the baby. The longer the membranes stay open, the more likely infection of the membranes and the fluid around the baby becomes. Chorioamnionitis. And this one threatens mother and baby together in the womb, well before the birth itself. It climbs smoothly. The chances already a bit more than double by 6 to 8 hours after rupture, and several times higher by the end of the first day compared with the first few hours. There is no cliff here, just a steady rise that begins at the moment of rupture and never pauses. So 4 clocks, all started by the same event, all keeping different time, and each measuring a different thing. 1 is the time until labor begins on its own. 1 is the time until the baby is born, always later than the first. 1 is the baby's rising risk of Group B strep, the danger that comes due at birth and stands behind our decision at around 18 hours to give antibiotics when a mother's status is unknown. And 1 is the steady climb of infection in the womb, threatening mother and baby from the very first hour. Reading those clocks is how we decide when to act, and the actions are not clocks themselves. 24 hours is the clearest example, and it is worth understanding rather than memorizing. By a day, nearly 2 in 3 women are already in labor on their own, the very figure the first clock gave us. By a day, the infection clock has been climbing for a full day. And a day is the interval the major trials and hospital protocols settled on as the point to help labor along, to induce if it is not started by itself. So 24 hours is not a 5th clock. It is a decision, the decision to induce, that we reach by reading the labor clock and the infection clock together. That makes it a different kind of moment from 18 hours. 18 hours is when we reach for antibiotics. 24 is when we reach toward delivery. And it is the women still waiting at 2, 3, and 4 days for whom that infection clock weighs most heavily, which is the very reason we rarely let the wait run so long. Which brings us to the one habit that organizes everything ahead. Before you use any number counted in hours after the waters break, name what it measures. Labor starting, the baby arriving, the group B strep risk, or the infection climbing in the womb. And remember that the moments we act, antibiotics once labor is underway beyond 18 hours, and induction by about a day, are decisions we reach by reading those clocks, not clocks in their own right. Read the right one for the question in front of you, and the rest of term rupture of membranes falls into order.